Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Mediocre Monthly. This is a monthly comic book club that we're doing, and today we're going to be talking about the Great British Bump Off. I did not like this one, so that's all I'll say on that. Mel enjoyed it somewhat, but we'll just get
Thought it
into
was
it.
nice. After a near death poisoning, contestant Shauna promises producers she can catch the culprit. She subtly and not so subtly interrogates the other contestants and connects the dots, saving the show and the contestants from an early demise.
Okay, so here's the thing. I'm extremely bad at mysteries and telling who the real murderer is. So I was caught off guard when I realized who the person was behind the whole thing. Turned out who I thought it was. I feel like the plot was too straightforward and it was painfully obvious who did it in the end. Yeah?
Who was your first who was the first person you thought was?
The pink haired girl.
Oh, okay. Mine was Will.
Which one is that one? Honestly, I
Uh
forgot these
he,
characters already.
he was the other guy. He was the other guilty guy. But why
Oh,
why
okay.
did you think she was guilty?
Okay, it was just the vibes, to be honest. Like, I've read a good amount of mysteries, and I feel like that would have been the most obvious choice. So for me, it just made sense.
Okay.
So,
She was my second suspect. Not because she was giving off the vibe that she was the culprit. It was because she was from Switzerland, you know?
oh wow.
like I have a vendetta against specifically Switzerland, so that's why I didn't
Okay.
like her. And her sort of like ooh woo vibes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Something else that ticked me off is there was this one panel specifically where we see all the contestants and their cakes. We see the expressions on everyone's faces, and the guy that she's like seeing at the time is like doing lovey eyes towards her. But when I looked at her, she had this like really nervous look on her face, and like you could tell like she was sweating and everything. And I was like, huh, that's kind of fishy. And like I feel like if they were gonna do that, they would do that for a reason. So that's also another reason why I thought it was her. Okay, I was also surprised by the ending, and by that I mean usually in mystery stories, there's always like two plot reveals, where the first one reveals the main like who done it scenario, and the second reveal is like okay, but this is who actually did it. And I was expecting that to happen in this comic because I felt like there had to be more to the story. I'm like, there has to be more to this, right? Like that can't be all there is to it, right? What's funny about this is I actually don't like secondary plot twists in mystery novels because most of the time whenever there's like a second plot twist, a lot of the times it isn't as well done as the first one. But in here I actually wanted it because I felt like there had to be more to this story. So I was surprised when the ending was just that simple. Usually I don't like that kind of stuff, but here I really wanted it to be in there. The tone of this comic was a bit strange in my eyes. I get that this is a comedy, but first of all, I did not find this comic like that funny at all. Like none of the jokes, if they can even be called jokes, landed to me. I think because of that, the tone was messed up at times. Like whenever it was making a joke, I just couldn't help but wonder why no one was taking things kind of seriously in this, which I do get it's trying to be a humorous comic, but at the same time, it just felt totally strange. And I think that's mostly a me thing. I feel like if someone genuinely found this funny, then they wouldn't have a problem with the tone at all. It just felt a bit all over the place when it came to the tone, and I didn't like that about it.
Is this your way of saying that you don't like British comedy?
I guess. I don't know. I haven't.
How do you feel about this being British? Because there was like the dialogue was very, they were using British words.
Honestly, I didn't mind it as much as I thought I would. Yeah, I was fine with the dialogue overall. I just feel like the comedy itself didn't land for me. Why did the dialogue like annoy you or anything?
I wouldn't say it annoyed me. It just I would be reading this in an American accent because fun fact, I'm American. And then
Mm-hmm.
they'd say something British and I'm like, oh right, yeah, no, these are British people. Like even though
Yeah.
it's literally called the Great British Bump Off, I was still surprised when I heard like British words.
I just don't think I can find comedy in murder mysteries. Like I want it to be either a comedy or a murder mystery, and I feel like those two things don't mesh for me. I think I realized that while reading this comic. So, yeah.
Have you ever watched Clue?
What's Clue?
Oh my god. Okay, never mind. Never mind. It's too.
I'm assuming it's a comedy murder mystery.
It is. It's a movie based off the board game, and oh my gosh, yeah, it's literally like comedy and murder mystery. I think it's too old for you. I don't think you'd appreciate it.
I'm a Zoomer, so
Yeah, you're a Zoomer notoriously, and I'm a Boomer, obviously.
yeah. The main character really got on my nerves. I found her to be really annoying, and I couldn't take her seriously. Speaking of the characters, I found all the characters to be kind of forgettable. I feel like this cast was too big, and I literally liked nothing about any of them. And I've already forgotten most of the characters after a few hours from reading this comic.
I'll talk about it in my overall, but I actually liked all the other minor characters, and I did think that they had personality.
Okay, Mal, so have you watched The Great British Bake Off?
Oh God, no.
Okay, same. So I tried getting into it, but I found it to be really fucking boring for a cooking slash baking show. I used to watch a lot of cooking slash baking competition shows, and I feel like the Great British Bake Off is one of the most boring shows you can choose out of cooking slash baking out there. So I have to ask, how many Great British Baking Show references are in this? Because I feel like there would be people who will enjoy this only for its references, but I'm not sure how much of a reference this whole comic was. So I wasn't sure how accurate that is to say that. I feel like this comic needed to be longer. If the comic was longer, I feel like I would have had more time to get to know the characters and I wouldn't have found them as forgettable as I did. I also just feel like with the cast this big, you do need a longer runtime. Also would have fleshed out the plot and the mystery so it wasn't as bad as it ended up being. Honestly, just needed more time. Anyways, I'm annoyed that I did not enjoy this comic and I ended up giving it like 2 out of 5 stars.
Neil was my first pick to die, and not just because they literally wrote him to be a menace. I didn't like his face. Something about it. It was like it's something about it just made me want him to die. I love a good background. Of all the pesticides, insecticides, and cleaners that were in that closet that they were in, my favorite was the one called Death Bleach. I just think that the frankness of it was the thing that made me laugh. Like, I feel like the other ones were sort of, clever or whatever, and then you just had Death Bleach. I don't read a lot of murder mysteries, so I don't really know what to look for when, like, looking for who's the killer. My guesses were strictly based off vibes. And like I said before, Will was one of mine. And that was because he said his favorite browser was Tor, and there's nothing wrong with wanting privacy, but when you look and act like that, and you say you use Tor, there is something going on there. And I was right, partially. Okay, Simeon, he was the pathetic old man, made my top 5 favorite characters of this comic, mostly because he is a sad man, and I love that about him. I love how Fanny, you name your child Fanny, you wish you would have gotten an abortion. But Fanny, when she was talking to one of the other contestants, I think it was Maisie, she was saying something like, cooking with dirty, filthy, stinky dogs is disgusting. All the while they have like a literal cat as a co-host. Okay.
Oh my god, that was so funny.
Dude,
oh that was
Fanny as I think she was what's it called?
112.
No, well, okay, no, she is canonically 112, which I think is insane. But what was she? Like, what did she do? What's it called?
Judge?
Judge. Okay, her as a judge, like, was so insane because she would literally like mentally torture these contestants and then just walk away. Okay, and my last thing is Neil should not have won. It should have been Simeon, in my personal opinion. They said he was much more humble when he came back after almost dying, but I still say he should have died. And if he didn't die, then he should have come back and then gotten like second place or something.
And are you wrong? No, that bitch deserved to die.
He was set up by Will to basically be a pompous asshole, but even then, I still think he should have died.
Anyways, overall, I did not enjoy this comic. It just didn't hit for me. I didn't find the mystery to be that intriguing. I didn't like the comedy for the most part. Yeah, I just didn't enjoy this. Like, maybe if I tried another murder mystery comedy, maybe I could end up enjoying it, but I'm not sure. After reading this, I guess we'll never know.
We should watch Clue together. I actually don't know how well it's held up. Like, it's been a few years since I watched that, but I'd have to think about it before we watched it.
I'll have to look into it.
I don't think there's anything too offensive. I genuinely cannot remember, but okay. This was a pretty solid whodunit comic. I think the only critique you can make is maybe the reveal came a little too far out of left field, which you don't agree with, but I sort of did. Like, maybe there wasn't enough clues for the reader to pick up on. I'm saying that as me, the reader.
No, I definitely agree with you. Even though I guessed who it was, I also felt like there weren't enough clues overall.
I say that because I'm someone who is like fairly new to this genre. Maybe there were easy enough clues. I just say that because I personally stumbled into the culprits strictly based off vibes, had nothing to do with whether or not they had motives. If the Swiss lady didn't mention she was Swiss, she wouldn't have been on my radar. I love the diversity of the personalities. It made all the conversations and interactions entertaining. These were minor characters, so I didn't get too upset that they didn't get a lot of limelight or whatever. And I also feel like, you know, when they were given the opportunities to show off their personality, I felt like it was time well spent, and I felt like I did sort of get to know them a little bit more. Like, they are one-dimensional characters, but I don't think they needed to be very fleshed out characters, especially for the story that this was trying to tell.
Anyways, you guys, that's our thoughts on the Great British Bump Off. If you want to listen to the voice message on Spotify for podcasters, there'll be a link in the description to do so below. Also, Instagram, Bluesky, TikTok, and YouTube channel all in the description. And that's everything. So goodbye.